Good afternoon. So another exciting edition of Reading with Mr. Eble. So again, we'll be doing Watchdog. So we just started yesterday. So if you missed chapters 1 and 2, you can go to our YouTube channel, Keller Rangers, and you can look at chapters 1 and 2, or scrolling down, you can see that on our Facebook feed as well. So every day, 12 o'clock, reading. Here we go. Chapters 3 and 4. Starting off. They stood on the rickety fire escape 3 stories above the city and stared at the ladder that led to the roof. "You want to go first this time?" Tara asked. Vic grasped the rung and stepped onto the ladder. He hated climbing this ladder, especially in the dark, and most especially when lugging a sack of electronic salvage. They could have taken the stairs inside, but the building was abandoned, and after sundown the stairwell was pitch dark. Sometimes other people slept in abandoned buildings too, and Vic liked running into them even less than he liked the fire escape. He half closed his eyes and climbed, his fingers squeezing the rusted iron so hard it hurt. When he reached the last rung, the ladder rattled in the wind like it could pull loose from the wall at any moment. He swung the sack onto the roof, then slid on his belly over the low wall. He dropped onto the roof and turned to help Tara. "I'm okay, I don't need any help," she protested as he pulled on her armpits. "Watch Daisy." Daisy's little metal head was sticking out of Tara's backpack. "I thought you named it Tangelo." "I changed my mind." Tara stood and brushed herself off. "And she's a she, not an it." The sight of their home filled Vic with relief, even though it wasn't much of a home. It was nothing but a lean-to constructed from salvaged plywood, cardboard, and plastic trash bags. They couldn't even stand up inside. Parts were strewn across the roof, including 3 big piles by the far wall. Because it came from the dump, the debris gave off a sour stink. There was the faintest nip of coolness in the late August air. Another 2 months, and it would be too cold to sleep there. They'd have to go back to sleeping at the Salvation Army shelter. Vic dreaded going back there. It was packed with people, a lot of them scary looking, and anything you didn't carry around all the time got stolen. Besides, Vic preferred it when they were on their own. Once upon a time, he trusted adults to watch out for him. Not anymore. Vic unloaded the day's haul of electronic salvage from the sack, separating it into robot parts they could clean up and sell to dealers at the flea market, and phone, TV, computer stuff they'd try to sell to the pawn shop if Tara could fix them. When he was finished, he crawled inside the lean-to and opened the styrofoam cooler that served as their kitchen. He took out the food that was left in it: half a can of corned beef hash, a sleeve of saltines, the last 3 Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies, and an otherwise empty package. He scooted out of the lean-to, holding 2 plates. "Dinner's ready." Tara was hunched over Daisy, simultaneously working on her and whispering to her. She accepted the food without looking Vic's way. Usually, this was when she'd launch into a tirade about what they were supposed to be having for dinner. Chicken quesadillas with American cheese and bacon crumbles. Don't cook them too long because they're not good when the edges are crunchy. Corn on the cob with butter, not margarine. Potato puffs, 2% chocolate milk. But she just went on monkeying with Daisy. "Going to work. Could you work on fixing some of the stuff we brought back?" Tara ignored him. "Fine." Vic went to the edge of the roof and watched vehicles and people pass below while he ate his pathetic dinner. This was the hardest part of the day for him. The dump was awful, but usually he was too busy and miserable to feel scared. It was here, on this big, dark, empty roof, when he felt most strongly how alone they were. It felt like a block of ice in his gut. His entire life seemed like a slow-motion fall down a flight of stairs. First, his father lost their house, trying to start a business, and ran away in shame. Then Mom lost her job at Versace's beauty salon to a robot that worked for free and never needed a lunch break. And she had to take the job installing solar panels because it was one of the few jobs robots couldn't do that you could get without a college degree. Then the freak accident where the solar panel broke loose and fell, and Uncle Mason and Aunt Ruby saying they couldn't afford to take care of Tara and him, even though they were supposed to be their godparents. Vic had been an honor student back when his mother was alive. Now he'd missed 6th grade. Every day he wasn't in school, he fell farther behind. Every day he grew a little dumber compared to the kids who were going to school. One of the knee-high cleanup bots Tara had built from junk parts tottered past him on its stubby legs. It was wearing a soiled pink party dress Tara had salvaged from the dump that must have come from some kid's doll, plus a partially crushed red felt hat with a white bow that looked ridiculous on its square aluminum head. The other bot was dressed as a boy. They were supposed to be Chloe and Jack, the brother and sister from Technopunks, Tara's favorite book series. "Chloe looks bored," Vic said. He spotted Jack on the other end of the roof, wandering aimlessly. So does Jack. Tara went on tinkering, her lips moving soundlessly. Vic watched Chloe scan the ground for small pieces of junk she could put away. That's all they did, day and night. You had to be careful what you set down, because Chloe and Jack couldn't tell the difference between trash and valuables. It all went in the trash bin. Hey, Chloe? Chloe's, whose voice recognition software had registered her name, stopped walking and waited for Vic to give her further instructions. Move all of the parts in the green bin into the red bin, Vic said. That ought to keep her busy for a while, he thought. The little bot headed straight for the green bin, which was filled with gutted parts from unfixable electronic devices. Vic knew Chloe was just a bunch of wires and circuits and programs, but he couldn't help thinking she looked happy to have something to do as she scooped an armful of parts from the green bin. That's great, thanks, Chloe. Of course, she'd be finished in 10 minutes and would have nothing to do again. Vic eyed Jack, who was now near the steel door that led into the inner stairwell. He suppressed a laugh. Jack, move all the parts in the red bin to the green bin. Jack took off toward the red bin. Thanks, buddy. Chloe dropped a handful of parts into the red bin, then hurried back to the green bin to get more. Jack bent, scooped up an armful of parts from the red bin, and headed toward the green bin. Vic burst out laughing. Good job, guys. You're doing great. Tara looked up from her work. What are you doing? She watched the bots. Chloe and Jack passed each other, each carrying parts. Vic laughed harder. The longer they did it, the funnier it got. You goofball, Tara said. They were bored, Vic managed, then broke down laughing again as Jack and Chloe dropped their parts and marched past each other toward opposite bins to get more. Tara started laughing. Oh, the poor knuckleheads don't know any better, she said. She watched the two bots and laughed harder. Vic was laughing so hard, tears streamed down his cheeks. A shout from below jolted Vic. They stopped laughing. Tara hurried over to see who it was as Vic turned to look down at the street. Two guys came running around the corner carrying boxes. He'd seen them on the street before, milling around outside gambling stores and pool halls. One was white with long dreadlocks, the other black with a shaved head. Both were a little older than Vic. They stopped out of sight, directly below Vic. Did they see? One of the guys said. I don't know, nobody's looked right at me, I don't think. I want to go home, Tara cried out. Vic nearly jumped out of his skin in surprise. He sprang at Tara, shushing her violently. Right now, Tara wailed. Vic clamped his hand over her mouth. He could hear the voices trail up from the street. What was that? One of the guys asked. Tara struggled and tried to shriek right through his hand. Vic pressed tighter. I don't know, the other guy said, then much louder. Who's up there? Vic dragged Tara back toward the lean-to. Come on down or I'm coming after you, he said. Something clanged against the fire escape, hard. Don't make me come up there. They reached the door of the lean-to. Vic squatted and pulled Tara into the darkness. We have to hide, he said, his mouth close to her ear. And you have to be quiet. You have to. Vic went to the back corner and slid aside the panel that led to their hiding place. You first, go, he said. He urged Tara toward the narrow opening. She wriggled through. Vic followed as the clanging continued. He slid the panel back in place and huddled beside Tara in the narrow space between the back of the lean-to and the concrete wall of the stairwell. I'm coming to get you. Both guys laughed. Vic was beginning to suspect the boys were only trying to scare them, because they were still on the street, but he could never tell for sure who was just a jerk and who was truly dangerous. Tara pressed against him. I want to go back to our nice warm home. Shh, whisper. I want Mom to come and get us, Tara whispered. You know she's not. Tara nodded against his shoulder. I know. But everything's going to be okay anyway, Vic said. How's everything going to be okay? Tara sounded annoyed. Vic shushed her again because her voice was rising. It had gone quiet outside, but he didn't want to take any chances. Maybe they were coming up the fire escape. Who's going to make it okay? Tara asked, whispering again. We are, you and me. Tara was quiet, evidently mulling this over. Vic waited a half hour before climbing out and scanning the streets. The guys were nowhere in sight. When Vic returned to the lean-to, Tara was working on her puppy bot by the light with her flashlight, a cable running from Daisy to her salvaged laptop. To preserve the battery, they were only supposed to use the flashlight in emergencies, but Vic was too tired to argue. Vic curled up in the pile of laundry that was his bed and studied the things he'd taken with him when they were kicked out of the apartment 8 months ago. A stack of comics, his baseball glove, his video games and portable player, a photo album, Mom's judo black belt, and his inhaler. That was all he had in the world besides the junk outside. They'd only been able to take what they could carry, and mostly that was stuff Tara insisted she couldn't live without. Things like her plastic toy robot collection and the Disney Purple Girl shirt that hadn't fit since she was 4. He'd been stupid to let her load them up with so much junk when they could have been carrying food and medicine. But he'd been so sure this was temporary that some adult was going to swoop in to save them. He hadn't realized that when things got bad, when there weren't enough jobs and people were hungry, adults only took care of their own kids. Some people could look so kind. Then when Vic asked for help, their eyes would get hard and they'd look right through him. Vic picked up his inhaler and weighed it in his palm, trying to divine how many pumps it had left. He had more asthma attacks than usual since Mom died, which wasn't surprising considering what they'd been through. He'd only used the inhaler twice when it got really bad. Once the inhaler was empty, he was in trouble. He was almost asleep when he realized Tara still had the flashlight on. "Don't stay up too late," he muttered. She didn't answer. Chapter 4. Here we go. So I think it's a little bit more reading than usual today, but it's okay. 2 chapters today. For the first couple of seconds after Vic woke, he thought he was back in his bedroom. Then his eyes focused on the warped, splintered plywood 2 feet above his head, and he remembered, and the knot in his stomach returned. When he sat up, he saw Tara wasn't in the lean-to. He crawled outside into the dim light of dawn. Tara was kneeling beside Daisy, who had her little metal face all but buried in the guts of an old Python phone. It looked like she was chewing on it. "Please tell me you weren't up all night playing with your robot." Tara looked bleary-eyed but wired. She could get so excited about something that she shut everything else out. Vic stepped closer and squinted. "What's she doing with that phone? Take it away from her." Vic froze. Daisy wasn't chewing on it. She was moving her little paws around on it, almost like she was working on it. "What is she doing?" Tara laughed with delight. "Trying to fix it." Daisy set the Python phone down, then moved to a second, partly crushed phone sitting nearby. She extracted some tiny part with her teeth. "How'd you get her to do that?" "I'm a super genius, that's how," Tara giggled. Tara's toy was trying to repair a phone. Vic looked from Daisy to Tara and back again. "Is she doing the right things? I mean, is it really fixing it, or just moving stuff around?" Tara's grin widened. "She's doing fine, aren't you, Daisy?" Daisy looked at Tara and nodded. "This was a toy. It was supposed to understand basic commands, like come and stay. You had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for a robot that understood sentences and answered you. What did a robot that could repair phones cost? There's no such thing as a robot that could repair phones on its own." "Can you make more of these?" Vic pointed at Daisy. "Nope." "Why not?" "I don't have the right part." Vic tried not to let his disappointment show. "What part?" "The one that makes her smart." Vic nodded. "Why don't we head for the dump and see if we can find what you need? If Tara could make more of them, they could make a lot of money. A lot of money." Vic washed up using the rainwater they had collected by diverting it from the gutters, then changed into one of the cleanest shirts he'd washed in the same water and draped on a railing to dry. As they headed for the dump, Daisy didn't follow at Tara's heels like she usually did. She was all over the place, sometimes running ahead, sometimes disappearing from sight, before reappearing from a completely different direction. "What's she doing?" Vic finally asked when Daisy disappeared yet again. Tara shrugged. "I don't know." "You didn't give her a command?" "Nope." Tara giggled and clapped her hands together. "You should see the look on your face." Vic scanned the streets for the little robot, but it was nowhere in sight. A flicker of motion from above caught his attention. It was Daisy, airborne, leaping from one roof to the next. Holy! What was she doing? Vic caught a whiff of the dump. They were still 3 blocks away, but the smell carried. Up ahead, Daisy turned a corner and raced toward them. As she drew close, she started making a strange bloop sound, her hind quarters bouncing into the air. "What's she doing now?" Vic asked. "No idea. She's blooping." They passed her. She got in front of them again and blooped. "Settle down, girl," Tara said. Immediately, Daisy fell into step beside Tara. They approached the dump for another stinking day of trash digging. As they climbed the edge of the pile, Vic could see something was wrong. None of the usual pickers were in the dump. Instead, people in gas masks and plastic clothes were spread evenly across the mounds. "Hey!" A guy in a gas mask headed toward them across the trash. "The dump is closed." "How can it be closed? Nobody owns it." There was another dump in walking distance. Without this place, they wouldn't eat. The guy lifted his gas mask, and Vic immediately recognized him. Stripe. "You two again. Got a long day ahead of me, and I'm in a crappy mood, so don't argue. Just get lost." Well, you can't tell us where to walk, Tara shot back. Stripe stuck his fingers in his mouth and whistled. In answer to his whistle, Stripe's watchdog Tiny cleared her eyes, racing toward them. Stripe gave Vic a steely glare. I said it's closed, man. Take your dimwit sister and get lost. Tara surged forward, her face reddening. Don't call me a dimwit. I'll bet I'm smarter than you are, pinhead. Vic grabbed Tara's shoulders and turned her around, expecting Stripe to sick the watchdog on them at any second. He could still hear that awful screeching sound it had made before it crashed through the apartment door. Hang on, Stripe said. Reluctantly, Vic turned back. Stripe was staring at Daisy, who was right at Tara's heels, looking up at them. You said you designed that? That's right. Stripe squatted beside Daisy. How'd you design these hip joints? Tara frowned, trying to find the words. It's not ball and socket. It's more like a K-joint, she said, with two K-joints on top of each other. She gave Stripe a satisfied grin. Now who's a dimwit? Stripe curled his finger at Daisy. Let me see her. No, Tara shouted. Just for a minute. Stripe stepped toward her. No, Daisy, run. As soon as the words left Tara's lips, Daisy took off. Stripe pointed at the fleeing figure. Tiny, fetch, he said. Tiny took off after Daisy. Daisy didn't make it 100 yards. The gleaming chrome monster pinned her with her front jaw, snapped her up in his jaws, and brought her back to Stripe. Stripe turned Daisy over, grasped one of her rear legs, and moved it back and forth. Leave her alone, Tara lunged, but Vic held her back. Stripe raised Daisy out of Tara's reach. I'm gonna hang on to this for a while. Now get out of here. Tara went nuts. She tore loose from Vic and launched herself at Stripe, trying to pry Daisy from his grip. When she didn't come loose, Tara bit Stripe's arm. No! Vic leaped to protect Tara as Stripe knocked her to the ground. Get off me! Stripe examined his forearm. Dang, you're pushing me, kid! It was red, with clearly visible tooth marks, but it was bleeding. He flipped Daisy over. Here, you want her back? He grasped one of Daisy's hind legs and tore it off, his big bicep bulging like it was going to push right through the skin. He tossed the rest of Daisy to the ground beside Tara. All I need is this joint. Now get lost. Don't let me catch you back here. Howling, Tara swept Daisy up and hugged her to her chest. Vic drew Tara to her feet. We have to go, Tara, right now. Look what he did. Look what he did to Daisy, bully. Tara looked devastated. You can fix her good as new. Come on, quick, quick. Vic got her moving. When they were out of the dump, Tara set Daisy down. Can you walk, girl? At first, Daisy tried to walk as if the leg was still there and stumbled badly. Then she adjusted, hopping along on one back leg as if she'd been doing it the whole time. What are we going to do without our dump? Vic asked. He couldn't stand the thought of going back to standing in endless lines at churches and government ration stations, trying to get handouts before they ran out, wolfing them down before someone bigger snatched them away. Why were those people suddenly interested in the dump? The salvage in it wasn't worth much. Vic should know. Wait, surely they wouldn't be there at night. He and Tara could go after dark with the flashlight. They'd have to stick close together, since they only had the one flashlight. They'd have to spend a lot more on batteries. But it was better than nothing. With any luck, they'd find the part Tara needed to make more daisies. Then they'd have enough to buy a bunch of batteries. A bunch of food, too. Danger, Tara said. What? The blooping sound. Daisy was trying to warn us there was danger ahead. No robot should be able to figure out whether something was dangerous or not. But Daisy had kept getting in front of them, like she wanted them to stop. Maybe you're right, Vic said. Of course I'm right, Tara said. What else can she do? I don't know, said Tara. Vic stopped walking. You built her. How can you not know? Tara gave an impatient huff. I built her out of used parts, even her brain. I didn't program the chips. I just installed them and added a few things. That made sense. Tara was a tech genius, but when would she have had time to program something as sophisticated as Daisy clearly was? What kind of things did you add? That she should never hurt anyone, and she's loyal only to me and you. The rest of what's in there was too complicated. I couldn't understand most of it. When they had time, Vic needed to figure out exactly what that little bot could do. That's the end of chapter 4. So tomorrow, join us again at noon here on Facebook Live. So we'll keep on reading Watchdog. But I'll keep working hard. Most importantly, be safe. If you need anything, just give a holler. More than happy to help out. So y'all have a great day. And remember, range is the way.